Welcome to a special edition of Testimony Time here in Spain. Now, I had the privilege yesterday of meeting a lady that really has a tremendous testimony, and I don't want to miss that opportunity to introduce her to you right away. Now, the Reverend Dr. Felicity Corbin-Wheeler is a health minister, and she's got an incredible testimony as to how she became a health minister and also the story of your life. Now, it's a long name. Can I call you Felicity?
Yes, please.
All right. Felicity, just go through some of the things that you were sharing with me yesterday, which I found absolutely fascinating.
Right. Well, I started off as a Red Cross nurse, a British Red Cross nurse in London, and then I went to work in Parliament. So I had a nursing background and a political background, which has actually been God's plan all the way through, obviously. I got married and we had 3 beautiful children. We went back to live in Jersey in the Channel Islands, which was our family home. And my second daughter sadly got Hodgkin's and died within 2 years. She had all the chemotherapy and radiotherapy, which of course, being a nurse, I thought that that was going to heal her. And sadly it didn't, and her immune system just got completely destroyed. And she died very bravely and with the Lord. At Easter 89, and this was utterly devastating to the family, obviously. I started looking at alternative methods. I'd started to read some alternative books, and when I saw that the chemo had destroyed her immune system, I thought there must be a better way. And in fact, Melanie had said to me just before she died, "Mum, there's got to be a better way than this." And I said, "Well, darling, I'll try and find it." So I then started researching and got more and more interested. And then in 2003, I was actually diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I'd just been in the Holy Land doing services there, and came back, did a big service in my church, in Gorey Church in Jersey. And tremendous pain came on suddenly. And I went to the doctor on the next day, and he said, "Oh, major problem." And I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Now, I knew as a nurse that was a pretty final prognosis. And I was given 6 weeks to 6 months to live. And I went to my church in London, which was Holy Trinity Brompton, the home of the Alpha Course. And there the most wonderful woman pastor called the Reverend Emmy Wilson prayed for me. And she also said, "I used to be a gastroenterology nursing sister, and I know that there's only one thing that'll heal you in the natural, and that's laetrile, that's the B17, which is banned in most of the world. It's actually hydrocyanic acid. It doesn't hurt you at all. I mean, I'm full of the stuff, so I'm a great testimony to it. And it's done in Mexico because the pharmaceutical companies try to block it in the rest of the world.
The FDA particularly.
The FDA, so the doctors, the Bible-believing doctors who realize that the Genesis 1:29 and 30 verses saying that we should be eating green plant, fruit, vegetables, seeds and nuts, the living food would actually heal us. I realized that I would have to get back on that diet, which I did. And I also had the ampules sent from Mexico, and I had them 13 times intravenously, done by a wonderful woman doctor who was quite alternatively thinking, knowing there was nothing else that could actually get me well from the chemotherapy and radiotherapy point of view. And after 13 sessions, I began to heal. And we went down to our little house in Portugal in the sunshine, where it's a very healing place with the sun and the blue skies and the bougainvillea and everything. And I didn't have the strength to get up the stairs. I laid on the sofa, but I gradually started to heal.
How long ago was this?
Well, that's 9 years ago now.
Right. And just to set the scene, because I have your book here, God's Healing Word. This is the picture at the top of the page of your daughter,
That's
Melanie.
my lovely daughter.
Now, how old was she when she died?
She was 20 when she died.
20?
She was diagnosed on her 18th birthday, which was pretty awful. In London. She got to London University. She'd done really well with her A-levels and got in. She was so thrilled to be at London University. And within 6 weeks, she was diagnosed with stage 4B, a Hodgkin's disease, which is pretty difficult. And of course, they did all the chemo. They were very good at King's College, which is her college. And then the Royal Marsden, when things went wrong, when the chemo had worked, obviously it always shrinks a tumour, and then of course the tumour comes back, and within months she'd relapsed, and they then took her to the Royal Marsden, and I went and lived with her the last 6 months at the Royal Marsden. And they were, they didn't want to know about anything natural. I did ask the oncologist, I said, look, this is not working with Mel. I'd like to take her to America and try something different. And he said to me, if you think lettuce leaves can cure your daughter, take her away and stop wasting my time. So
how arrogant.
Melanie said to me, Mum, please, just be quiet.
Yeah.
And so we did it all the scientific way, and it didn't work, and it was, well, it destroyed the family. It was absolutely horrendous. And bless her heart, she said, Mum, find the better way. So I really, having got my research background, my nursing background, I thought, right, I'm in the right place to do this. So I did research, and then eventually I went to America, and I trained at Hallelujah Acres, which is a wonderful place in North Carolina, which is a sort of educational establishment. Used to be a Baptist seminary. It's now been taken over by the Reverend Dr. George Malkmus, who is a marvelous man who was healed the same way 40 years ago of colon cancer, having just seen his mother die and go the chemical route with chemotherapy. He decided not to do that at 42 when he was with a big ministry in New York, and he was diagnosed with colon cancer, exactly the same as his mother. So George got well on the Genesis 1:29 and 30, the green plant, the fruit, vegetables, which he juiced. There was a man called Lester Roloff, another famous evangelist from way back, and a lot of doctors have been doing this for a long time. Professor John Beard of Edinburgh University has been doing this 100 years ago. So there's nothing new about it. And really it's going back to God's word. And it's all about detoxing from the meat, the animal protein, coffee, all the usual things that we're eating. In fact, we've really got a perfect storm situation now with health, because the soil is deficient. We're not getting the minerals, and then we're putting the toxins in our body.
Yeah. Would you say that this is why we're seeing such an increase in the rates of cancer?
Absolutely, and younger. What we're finding, I'm also a health educator with Hippocrates Health Institute, which is very much science-based, and I trained there as well. And we're finding that people are getting sicker younger now. Even babies are born with cancer.
Well, your daughter is at 18 years of age.
I know. Yes.
It's young enough, but there's more to the story there, which really got your attention. It was something to do with the water, the well.
That's right.
That you were all drinking from as a family.
Well, we had a wonderful old granite farmhouse, which had sort of been in the family a long time, and the well water had been contaminated, which we didn't realize, by the people who'd been farming in the interim, putting a lot of chemicals on the Royal Jersey potatoes, the famous Jersey Royal, and the tomatoes that they grow in Jersey. And they'd really put a lot of chemicals. Now, those chemicals over the years had filtrated down with rain into the well. So we were actually drinking these chemicals. And so, of course, the young pick these things up much quicker because their immune systems are not so formed. And then I got it, I'm sure, from the same source, and also probably from a hormone therapy, the HRT that you're given, which is an estrogen-based thing, which doesn't do any of us any good. These the chemicals are not good for the body. So it was quite a journey, and I feel that it's a story for revelation, because it's, I'm 71 now, and my life is going to be useful to everyone if I pass on a legacy of what I've learnt the hard way. And of course my passion is prevention. So I talk to schools and I talk to a lot of groups about going back to God's Word.
You've invested really the last 9 years of your life.
Yes.
Really, sort of put everything
Yes.
into this, I can see,
Yes.
because obviously I spoke to you yesterday for
Yes.
an hour or so.
Yes.
So it's you're passionate about it, and as I say, because this is more your testimony, our viewers will become familiar with you as you appear on some of the other live programs that we're going to be doing with you. So these essentials for living, are all of interest to us, but we sort of play with it. We say, okay, we hear a little bit on the news about, this is going to be harmful, this is, and don't eat or drink this, etc. And then we still take it. I'm speaking for myself, therefore I know I'm, quite a normal person here. But you've really sort of seen the dangers and firsthand and experienced them both from your daughter's point of view and your own point of view. So, but just as a nutshell, what would you say is something that would really get our attention, just to get our interest, to change our ways?
I think it's when you see the science behind it, and you have to be taught that. Normally the GPs have not been trained much in nutrition. They've been taught about drugs and how to cure diseases with drugs. But chemicals are not really the answer, because the body responds better when you build the immune system. It's a matter of the alkaline acid balance that we were talking about. Everything in our world at the moment is making us quite acid. A lot of animal protein, dairy, processed foods, to say nothing of the lifestyle, this perfect storm that we've got. Yes, we're sitting down, we're watching the computers, we're watching television. The children are not getting out and playing sport like we all did. So it's a body, mind and spirit thing. I mean, you have to put the whole thing together. It's really interesting how quickly people improve their health. At Hippocrates in America, they have a 3-week course, a 21-day program where you go cold turkey and you have nothing but the green juices, the salads, and that's it. And you're on a sort of campus, it's rather boot camp, so you've got the palms and the lakes. There's no shops, there's no Mars bars around the corner. Believe me, we all looked for them. But, you're there for 21 days, you're spending a lot of money. And my whole passion is to try and bring this to Europe at a reasonable cost for people. So I do the courses, I do them free for people who have cancer, because I'm just so passionate about them getting well.
God bless you.
And when people detox, they do get better.
Now, I've started to read some of your notes this morning. I'm fascinated with it, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but just a couple of points I'd like to bring out. And first of all, it'd be good to bring the biblical reference out, because you say quite rightly, or the people that have helped to put these notes together, that what we're just finding out is that God's way works, and it was written thousands of years ago. And could you just give us an outline of scriptures that you would use and quote them, perhaps, so our viewers could be familiar with that?
Yes, well, Genesis 1:29 and 30, first chapter, first book of the Bible, and any Bible believer should know what it says and actually try to be obedient to it. If they did, we wouldn't have so much sickness. So it says, "Behold, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the earth, and every tree with fruit with seed in it. This will be for your food. And to every living thing I give green plant." Now we find that when people have the juices, the green juices like wheatgrass, barley grass, it has the most amazing qualities. It has all the amino acids, it has all the vitamins, all the minerals in the barley grass and the wheatgrass. And whole ministries have been founded on drinking the wheatgrass. Now you can grow it yourself, which is much cheaper, because all you have to do is buy the organic seed, and within 11 days you have a crop of 11-inch grass, which is just at the right stage where you juice it, you drink it, you can flavor it with lemon to make it smell nice and taste nicer. But it does heal. It's amazing. And there was one woman I saw at Hippocrates Health Institute who was covered in cirrhotic arthritis, so she had psoriasis all over her skin. She was bleeding. Her skin was broken down, and she had the pain of the arthritis. And she was a very wealthy woman from Germany. And she said, I've tried all the doctors in Switzerland, Germany, Austria, everywhere. I've come to America, done all the doctors there. They can't move this psoriasis or the arthritis. Within 6 weeks at Hippocrates, that woman didn't have a single blemish on her skin. She was riding a bicycle. She'd lost 40 pounds. Her son and daughter, who'd seen her off in a wheelchair from Germany, flew over, and they didn't recognize their mother.
Isn't that amazing? Just in such a short period of time.
She did, usually it's 3 weeks, but because she was so ill, they found it was from water. And when she got on the pure water, the distilled water, and she had nothing apart from the green juices and the green salads. You can have sunflower sprouts and all kinds of lovely things. It really does taste delicious. And she healed completely. And I was really amazed by that.
Mm. Now, looking at another scriptural reference, which just followed on from what you were saying there in Genesis, God saw that all that he had made was very good. Yes. Not just good, very good.
Very good.
Just to say this because, as we believe as Christians, and we're Bible-believing Christians, is that God created us, and therefore he knows what's best for us.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you also quote in these notes here, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Yes. Choose life. And that's from Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse
Yes.
19. You know, we do, each one of us have a free will. But to try and educate and change someone's lifestyle, especially when you're talking about food and drink, it's almost like an impossible task. Now, my sister, Sheila, my eldest sister, she's got to be getting on to 78 now. I'm not saying she's a picture of health and everything, but she's amazing for her age. But nearly all of my life from the age of about 14, she discovered all of this sort of information, although she's not a believer in the Bible, but she's taken that information, from other sources and tried to push, gently persuade the rest of the family to eat these sort of the right things, which we're finding out some 30, 40, 50 years later that she was right. And so here we're having evidence brought to our attention, even recent times, the research that was done for 27 years by one of the Harvard University departments, showing that processed meats should never be taken, really. Basically, that's the bottom line. And that red meat should be avoided if possible and eaten very rarely, not the condition, but the actual the times that you would eat it, perhaps once a week. Whereas, Britons, British, we're very much two vegetables and meat and potatoes. So
science has at last caught up with God, because God had the perfect diet.
That's exactly it.
And then, of course, people will bring up the meat and the lamb, and we ought to just lay that to rest at the time, because this is the perfect diet in Eden. After sin came into the world, then animals were killed.
Yes.
And God
because we're talking post the flood. Noah's flood was
after
the time.
Flood.
Yes. And it's good to remember that. It's not like, because there's a lot of sort of looking down on vegans and vegetarians, by the majority in the world. But it's not a fad or anything. It's really going back to what God said and ordained for us. Now, in the seeds of some of these things, when God says, I've given you every kind of seed, what give us an example of some of the seeds that are help us to stave off cancer, for example.
Well, the main one is the apricot seed. People have probably heard about eating apricot kernels. You can do that. You can also have the tablets that are made by the Mexican hospital and laboratory, which are actually much easier to take, because you can take 100 mils or 500 mils of the tablets, which are much stronger, because it's extremely difficult to eat a whole lot of kernels. I tried to eat the kernels, and I found it too difficult.
Well, they're extremely hard, aren't they, and brittle?
Well, you can have them ground up. There's a lady who who produces them from her farm in South Africa, and they all have to be organic, and she does that beautifully, and then she grinds them up. So people spread them on their muesli or something in the morning. But apple seeds have also got the hydrocyanic acid in. And, you know, if one of the doctors who refused to give me the Latril said, you know, it'll kill you. And I said, well, I'm dying anyway, so let's try it. And I believe it because it's God's word. And in fact, I was full of it. I had 13 IV sessions with it. And then for 2 years, I took the hydrocyanic acid in the form of the Latril 500 milligram tablets. So I'm full of it. And I'm still winning golf competitions.
Amazing. 70 years of age. Amazing. Now, I read these notes probably about an hour ago. And there was so much information in here that we couldn't possibly share, as I say, on this program. But one of the things that stood out to me was how the body gets rid of toxins the natural way. And what would you advise us, really, just in a nutshell, sorry to coin a phrase, to be able to be aware of what we're doing to our body and how the body functions, you know, with regards to getting rid of these toxins which can cause cancer?
Well, we first have to understand about the miniature cell. We're made up of trillions of cells, and our cells have to breathe. They have to have phytonutrients, the electrical charge out of the plants that you don't get out of dead food. So that's why we go for the live food, and to get the body eliminating properly. I mean, you have to. The Gerson therapy, Gerson has done, Dr. Max Gerson was the big German doctor who came to America and was getting people well from cancer many years ago. His daughter is now running the institute, and they believe in the colonics, and I did that as well, because having been a nurse I knew about that and the importance of washing out the colon from all the toxins, especially if people have eaten meat and animal products. So you do the colonics. That's easy to do. It's like cleaning your teeth. You want to drink a lot of water. A lot of people are dehydrated. We need to hydrate all the time.
But the water, what's the safe water? You know, because you can be drinking water and it's actually damaging you.
Absolutely. You have to distill the water and then re-alkalize it. And there are machines for doing that. And it's quite a simple thing you set up. I've got that set up at home. And I only drink the distilled water, and then I alkalize it with a machine. I don't sell anything. I don't advocate any particular brand or make of anything, because I just want to tell people the information, and there's masses on the internet to choose what you want to buy. But you can alkalize the water, and then you want to drink a glass like that every hour to really wash out the body. And you see, the toxins, when we collect toxins in the colon or in the kidneys or in the sinuses, those toxins will all go when they're not expelled, not eliminated properly, they will actually go in the bloodstream to our weakest organ. So maybe it's someone's lungs, maybe it's someone's colon, maybe it's someone's brain, they get a brain tumor. But the toxins will go to a weak place. They'll go to look for a weak organ, and they'll settle there. They encapsulate, which is interesting with breast cancer. The toxins go somewhere supposedly safe and get lodged there. Now, when people go in and do biopsies, of course, you're spreading the cells. You know, there's so much surgery that's done unnecessarily, quite honestly, because if people can detox, we see it all the time at Hippocrates, that people's breast cancer just disappears. My pancreatic cancer took 8 months for the tumor to go, and I was scanned right the way through. I've got the beginning scans, the end scans, and in the end it's just a scar. It did a lot of damage. I had to have a biliary bypass 2 years ago to repair the damage, because my common bile duct had been destroyed by the tumor, and they had to stent the area. And then after 7 years, they couldn't stent it anymore, so they had to do a major operation, which proves that I really did have a huge tumor there. And it's fine now.
Now, we've only got a couple of minutes left.
Okay.
Talking of 8 months, I was fascinated that we generate in ourselves a new heart every 8 months.
Yes.
And that also we synthesize a new liver every 5 months.
Yes.
It's just amazing how quickly and every 90 days our complete blood supply is replenished. So the body has an amazing means to actually just regenerate, revitalize us.
Yes.
But at each stage of that, we could actually be doing something that's damaging, and the knock-on effect of that could be horrific, particularly in young people, as you were saying today, because there's alcohol, which is and all sorts of things that not only just foods that they're taking, which are damaging to their liver, etc.
Yeah.
What would you just in 10 seconds or so say to someone what to do, how to do a body check?
I think when you're beginning to feel a little bit tired or stressed, you know that things are not right. You go to a doctor and he cannot actually pinpoint it on a scan or anything yet, won't show up in a blood test. But you know when you're feeling under the weather, that's the time to get on your fresh juices, learn about it, and really get on and do it.
Felicity, I want to say thank you very much for sharing your testimony with us today. I'm sure everybody will be blessed. And if you want to get hold of the book, Yes, God's Healing Word, then you can do that by getting onto the website.